Alright, so now we're going to tour the menu. So the menu can be accessed by pressing the menu button. Alright, so we'll be taking a look at the shooting menu first, and those are these 4 tabs in front. Alright, so the first one is image quality. So basically you can set your image quality through this menu. Basically the upper bar here allows you to set your raw image quality, and the bottom bit here allows you to set your JPEG image quality. So this is the viewfinder grid display. So you can enable or disable it. So enabling it will cause a grid to appear in your viewfinder to help you with your framing, and disabling it will leave you with a nice clean viewfinder. So viewfinder leveling, you can hide it or show it. So if you show it, you can see a little leveling widget on the bottom of your viewfinder to tell you if your leveling is on. Now beep, you have touch to silence, enable or disable. When it's enabled, every touch you make will give you an annoying pop noise, like so. It's pretty annoying. So for now, we will set it to touch to disable, but otherwise it will also sound the beep when your focus is acquired. So if you set it to disable, even though you've acquired autofocus, it will not make that noise. So release shutter without card. So enable, disable. So even if you don't have a card in the camera, the shutter will still release, and if it's disabled, the shutter won't release if you don't have a card in. So image review, off 2 seconds, 4 seconds, 8 seconds, hold. So you can set it to off, so after you've taken the image will not preview on your LCD screen. So if you're at 2 seconds after you've taken an image, the preview will show up on your LCD screen. So same goes for 4 seconds, 8 seconds, and hold. Hold, the image will show up on your LCD screen until you press another button. So let's leave it on 2 seconds. Now, lens aberration correction. So you can enable or disable the peripheral illumination correction or the chromatic aberration correction. So this one basically it lightens up the borders of your images so as to remove any vignetting caused by the lens, and chromatic aberration, it removes chromatic aberration. So flash control, there will be another chapter on flash control, so let's leave it for now. Red eye reduction, enable, disable. So red eye reduction, when it's enabled, this lamp down here will shine when your pop-up flash is popped out, like so. So apparently that reduces red eye caused by the flash. And mirror lockup, off or on. So when mirror lockup is on, when you take a shot, it doesn't take a shot. It flips the mirror out of the way, and you have to press it one more time to actually take the shot. So I'll show you what actually happens inside. So you press it once, mirror flips out of the way. Press again, it takes the shot. So this is actually used when you're taking macro photography on a tripod, whereby the mirror flipping will actually cause a minute amount of shake and blur your image. So over here we have exposure comp or exposure bracketing. So exposure compensation works when something is automatically controlled by the camera. So if you move this up to 1, that means the camera will deliberately overexpose your image by 1 stop. 2 means 2, 3, 4, 5 stops, and if down here -1, it will automatically underexpose your image by 1 stop, 2, 3, 4, 5. So if you turn the main dial, you will see this thing kind of spreading out. So this is actually bracketing. So what is bracketing? So bracketing means if I hold down the shutter button, it will take 3 shots because there are 3 lines here. So it will take 1 shot at this setting, 1 shot at this setting, and 1 shot at this setting. So I'm going to turn that off. ISO speed settings. So this changes your current ISO speed and ISO speed range. You can change the range of your ISO here. Basically you want the maximum range. The auto ISO range, so you can limit how far auto ISO goes. And of course you can also limit the minimum shutter speed when you're on auto mode. Auto lighting optimizer. Basically this digitally brightens up your shadows in your images, but this only works on JPEG. So white balance, you can change your white balance from here, although you can perfectly do so from the quick menu. Custom white balance, that is to set custom white balance, you basically take an image of a gray surface and then you press set and it will calibrate the white balance to show that that gray surface is supposed to be white. So custom white balance, you have to select a previously taken image. So by doing so, you're telling the camera that this is white. I want this to be white. This is how white looks like. So the camera will compensate for that, and your whites will hopefully be pure white in your JPEG images. So white balance shift, you can shift your image tone to be a little more amber, that's red, blue, green, or magenta. So basically I leave this in the middle, and you can also bracket this by doing so. So this is also bracketable. Okay. Color space, you can choose sRGB and Adobe RGB. I personally leave it on sRGB. Picture style. So there will be also an entire chapter on picture style. So again, stay tuned. So we'll leave picture style for now. Long exposure noise reduction. It's on off, but still if I'm not wrong, any image exposed over 1 second will be counted as long exposure. So it will automatically apply noise reduction to your long exposure images. And also we have high ISO speed noise reduction. Basically it reduces a noise at high ISO. You can set it to off, low, standard, high, or multi-shot noise reduction. So what is multi-shot noise reduction? Basically, if you're shooting at a very high ISO, let's say 12,008, your images tend to become very noisy. So multi-shot noise reduction, and if it's enabled, you can see it in the LCD panel here. It takes a series of shots and combines them to form one clean image. So it takes 4 shots and you have to wait a while for the camera to actually process it. It's still processing. Alright, so this shot was taken at ISO 12,800 and you can see it's very clean thanks to multi-shot noise reduction. But still, I'm gonna leave it on standard. Highlight tone priority. This is the opposite of auto lighting optimizer. Basically, it preserves your highlights apparently. Still, I leave it on off. Does delete data. This applies if you have dust stuck to your CMOS sensor and you can't get it off. So basically, you take a picture of a clean white wall, so the dust specks will show up clearly on the image, and then you select that image and it will automatically remove those little specks as seen in the image automatically. So I don't have this configured because I keep dust off my sensor, and the camera actually has a sensor cleaning system, so basically you don't really have to worry too much about dust on your sensor. Multiple exposure, basically it's like a multiple exposure on film. So multiple exposure, you can enable or disable it, and the multiple exposure you can set it to additive or average mode. Basically, additive means it layers the images on top of one another, and average, it basically calculates the average exposure between the images and chooses which one to show. So number of exposures, you can set it to up to 9 exposures. So I have it on 2 right now. And continue multiple exposure, you can set it to 1 shot only or continuously. So 1 shot only means if I have it on enable, it will automatically disable after I've taken 1 multiple exposure. But if it's on, one moment. If it's on continuous, it will keep on being on. And we have HDR mode. So basically HDR mode, it takes 1 image underexposed, 1 image nicely exposed, and 1 image overexposed. So they combine these 3, so you get a lot of shadows, a lot of midtones, and a lot of highlights. So you retain the shadow and highlight detail, so you get a lot of dynamic range. That's why it's called HDR, high dynamic range. And continuous HDR, same as the continuous, what was it? Multiple exposure, as stated earlier. Auto image align, enable, disable. I recommend enabling it. If it's set to disable, you might get some ghosting.